Hi friends, it's me Taylor. I'm so happy to be joining you today on this beautiful Sunday. Welcome to Get Your Play Online, and today is time for our arts and crafts segment. So today we are going to be making Father's Day mosaic acrostics. So if you remember Mother's Day, we did something kind of similar to this. We did another mosaic acrostic for Mother's Day, but we're going to do one for Father's Day now because I know when I gave mine to my mom, she was so happy and loved it so much. So I definitely have to make one with my dad. And what better place to do it than here at Get Your Play Online with all my friends? So why don't we go ahead and get started? So this is what it's kind of going to look like. It says Dad, and then I have Happy Father's Day, wait, right here, and I have I love you, and just some things about my dad inside of the letters Dad. So I did mine red, yellow, and blue because my dad is a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm not a Steelers fan, but I love him enough to do his mosaic acrostic in those colors. So that's why I have these colors. You're more than welcome to use whatever colors that you need, but let's go ahead and start pulling out our supplies, okay? So I'm going to set this to the side, but I just had to show you so you have an idea of what we're going to be doing today. So let me go ahead and pull my supplies out. First things first, you're of course going to need your watercolors. If you don't have watercolors, any kind of paint will work, but because I am doing watercolor paper with this as well, and because we're going to be doing a lot of coloring as well as writing on the same paper, I do recommend watercolors just because it dries a lot quicker than other paints, and because of the quick dry time, we're able to do the other things for our activity. So we have our watercolors, we have our watercolor paper, painter's tape, scissors, colored pencils, and then our paintbrush and a cup of water. And that's all we're going to need for this, although we are going to do another activity, but you won't need anything for that. I will take care of that for us. So I'm going to go ahead and lower my camera, and we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take out a sheet of my watercolor paper, and I'm going to pull it out and lay that down right there. And I'm going to go ahead and pull my painter's tape out. So for our painter's tape, I do recommend using scissors just so that you can get nice clean cuts with everything that we're doing. If you don't have scissors, then you're perfectly fine to just go ahead and rip it off because painter's tape does rip easily. But for the sake of this activity, I do highly recommend using scissors to get a nice clean cut. So first we're going to pull out a nice long piece of tape. My tape, it's looking like it's about 5 or 6 inches long. I'm just kind of eyeballing this as we go. But I'm going to go ahead, now that I have my tape all pulled out, I'm going to grab these scissors and I'm going to cut my tape. And I'm going to take it and lay it down at the very top, in the top corner of my page. And whenever we do this activity, we do have to be a little bit more mindful of the space just because the tape is big and our letters are going to be big as a result. So we have to be very mindful of our spacing when it comes to the tape that we're laying out and ensuring we're not taking up any extra spaces and that we are utilizing the space that we have as best as possible. So just making sure that you get that piece of tape as close to the edge of your paper as possible, because the first piece of tape is the most important, as that is laying out our foundation for how the rest of our tape and our letters are going to look. So next you're going to measure out a shorter piece of tape to kind of just stick out to the side because we are doing an uppercase letter D. And once you have that all measured out, you can go ahead and grab those scissors, cut that tape, and get ready to lay that piece of tape down. Now, there is no perfectly right or wrong way to do this. It's however you want. If you want to do all lowercase or all uppercase letters, maybe you have a bigger sheet of paper, then that is perfectly okay. The way that I'm going about doing this is I am just keep trying to eyeball the space that I have, and just trying to make sure that I get my D and my tape as even as possible. So what I mean by that is, if you look at the top, how I just laid that piece of tape out right there, what I'm going to do to make sure that my D is as even as possible is I'm going to take another sheet or another strip of tape, and I'm going to measure out that same piece of tape, take it over top of that same piece that I just laid out, and make sure that I have them as close to the same size as possible. I'm grabbing my scissors and I'm going to cut that piece of tape, and I'm going to lay it down on the bottom part of my D, covering up that bottom space for my on my first strip of tape for my D. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab one more strip of tape just to close up my letter D. And whenever you measure this out, do make sure that the top piece of your strip of tape does touch the very top of your tape right here, just to make sure that it is even and that it's going to be nice and as symmetrical as possible. So once you have that measured out, grab those scissors and cut that piece of tape. Perfect. So you guys are doing a great job. So we have our letter D. Now that we have our D, it's time to move on to the letter A. So sorry, I'm taking my little extra pieces of tape and throwing them in the trash. But now, for our letter A, we're essentially just going to create a box, but the little long stem part of our letter A is going to be a little bit longer than the rest of the box for our letter A. So we're going to go ahead and measure that out right now. I'm going to try to make my A as small as I can get it without it being too impossibly small to where it just doesn't look right. So I just grabbed this piece of tape right here, I cut it, and what I'm about to do is I'm going to lay down the non-sticky part, that smoother part that doesn't have any stickies. I'm going to lay it out on that same roll of tape to measure out my next strip of tape, just to make sure that I'm getting all these as even as possible. And once I have that all measured out, I'm going to grab my scissors and I'm going to cut that piece. And I have two pieces of tape. What I'm about to do is I'm going to do this one last time. I'm going to measure it out just like I did for the last strip, just making sure that it's as even as possible. Once I have that all even and measured out, I'm going to cut that piece of tape. Perfect. You guys are doing a great job. So now let's go ahead and just lay our tape out. And I'm going to do it, the way that I'm laying my tape out is it's going to go diagonal. So as you can see in my example right here, my letters go diagonally down the page, and I'm going to keep that same pattern on this one. So where the corner of my D is right here is where I'm going to lay my first piece of tape, like a millimeter away from the D. Maybe even closer. Okay, perfect. And I'm just laying out my tape like so to create my box. And once I have my box almost all complete, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my tape right here, and I'm going to make my long piece of tape. And with our long piece of tape, you don't want it to be too crazy long. This one is a little bit longer than I anticipated, but I do want to just get a good idea of how long I want my tape to be. So I'm just going to take off maybe a centimeter off of that piece, and I'm going to throw that in the trash, lay this piece of tape out. Oh, I had a little strip of tape that came out of nowhere. And I'm just going to make sure that this long piece of tape, it's extending past my box from the top and the bottom, just like so. So we have our D, we have our A, and now we might have made this piece a little bit too long. So what I'm going to do, just because I'm eyeballing it, trying to get a good visual of how my lowercase d is going to look. So I'm going to make sure that it's still long enough to stick out from both ends, and I'm going to cut this piece at the bottom right here, just like this. Perfect. It sticks out a little at the top and it sticks out a little bit at the bottom. You can still tell it's a letter lowercase a, so we're going to go with it. Okay, so now we're going to go and create our last letter, which is going to be our letter D. For our letter D, we're going to roll out a long strip of tape. And this is obviously too long. It takes up almost the whole page. So maybe not quite that long, but it is going to be a long strip. It's up to you how long you want it to be. I want for my letter D to come up like right below the top of my letter A. So for that, I'm going to want it to be a little bit shorter than this. And I'm going to grab my scissors, cut my piece of tape. As the length that you would like your letter D to be is completely up to you. There is no right or wrong way because this is your creation. But for mine, this is how I would like it to be. And so for my D, we're just going to create another box. And for my box, I'm going to first measure out the bottom part of my letter D. I don't want it to extend too far just because I don't have a ton of space due to the letter A being so big. But it is okay. We're going to work with the space that we have. So I want it to be just like this. So I'm going to pull up that piece of tape right quick. I'm going to measure out 3 more pieces of tape that are the same length as the piece of tape that you choose to be for your bottom part of your lowercase d. So once you have that cut out, you can go ahead and where that smooth side is, just like we did for the letter A, we're going to measure out that tape, make sure that it's all the same length, and once we have it all measured out and it is the same length, we can grab our, scissors and we can cut. Beautiful. So we're going to do that one last time because we do need 3 pieces to close our box up. And once we have that, we're going to measure it out like so. And we are going to cut. Oops. Okay. We are going to cut our piece of tape. Perfect. Now we have 3 even pieces of tape, and how we're going to lay this out is just like we did for the bottom piece. You can go ahead and lay that back down, stick that back down, and then for the D, you can stick that down as well, and that's going to go above the bottom piece. And then for this piece, you can just lay it down to close the box. So what you may notice on my sheet right now is that I do have some tape hanging over. That's no problem at all. As a matter of fact, that is a very easy fix, and this is how we're going to fix it. We're going to grab our scissors, and we're going to cut off the excess. So for that, I'm just going to raise up my piece of tape, and I'm going to cut. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the other 2 pieces. I'm going to pull that piece up, pull up that piece, and then I'm going to cut off the excess. And so let's cut it all off. And I'm going to take this piece of tape and I'm going to move it out a little bit just to kind of close up that box a little bit better and to make it look a little bit more even. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go back and fix my A little bit because they are so close together. I'm going to raise that piece of tape up a little bit more. So we have our D-A-D for dad. You guys are doing a great job. I can't wait to see how everyone's turns out. Make sure that after we're all done, you post a picture or send us a picture of your artwork because we'll love to see it. And this is just a great Father's Day activity in general. So I really hope that you guys get the chance to create one for your dad. Okay, so now what we're going to do is you can go ahead and take your tape and set it to the side because we're all done with our tape now. So what we're going to do is pull out our watercolors now. And you can paint your page whatever colors you want. Okay. You can paint your page whatever colors it is that you want to paint. Again, I'm going to do red, yellow, and blue again just because those are my dad's favorite colors for the Steelers. As a matter of fact, this is his office, and he has a Steelers hat sitting right here. And there's some more Steelers stuff around this office, I promise. But the yellow, red, and blue, he loves Steelers, so I'm just going to go ahead and rock with those colors because I know he loves those. Whatever your dad's favorite colors are, or maybe his favorite sports team's colors, or anything, just go ahead and you can maybe paint your page those colors just to, you know, cater to the things that they like. So I'm going to open up my watercolor palette. I'm going to lower my camera again, and I'm going to get painting. So let's go ahead and get painting. So I'm going to start with the color red. And keep in mind, because this is tape resistance, we don't have to worry about painting on the tape because it's perfectly okay. So first, before I do paint with my paint, I'm going to take my paintbrush, swirl it around in my water cup like so, and I'm going to just rub water all over my whole page because this is watercolor paper. Oops, I don't know what that is. We're almost done. We're just rubbing water all over our whole page just to get our watercolors to blend out better as we are painting. So we're just taking the time to do that right quick. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to get it over every single inch of your page, but try to get it to cover as much surface area on your page as possible. Okay, so now that I have water all over my whole page, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my brush, swirl it around in that water one more time, and dip into my first color. My first color is going to be red, like I said earlier. Whatever your first color is going to be is your choice, but go ahead and get that color on your brush. And you can start painting. I'm starting at the top of my page, at the top where the D is. But wherever you want to start is completely up to you. So let's get painting. You guys are doing a great job. The way that I personally am going to paint on my page is I want each letter to be a different color. So I want for my first letter to be red, my second letter, the A, to be yellow, and I want the last letter to be a blue. So I'm just painting in the space before my letter A first, just to get it all over the D and in that same area where the D is. So I'm going to dip my brush in the water a little bit, put a little bit more paint on my brush, and I'm just going to go in and darken up those areas where it's a little bit lighter on my page. And also keep in mind with your paintbrush selection, with stuff like this, the bigger your paintbrush is, the easier it will be to paint and cover up the white spaces on your page. If you're using a skinnier brush, it will take you a little bit longer to get those colors all over your page. Unless you're using a skinny paintbrush to add detail to your page, I do recommend to use a thicker paintbrush like this. Or maybe an even thicker one than the one that I have. Okay, so I'm about done with my first color. So now I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to dip into my second color, which is going to be a yellow. And I'm going to do a nice golden yellow color. Just because I love the golden yellow colors. And how I'm going to do this is, you see where like I left this line of yellow right here, or red right here. I'm going to take my yellow and I'm going to start kind of where, start inside of the red a little bit. And it's going to create an orangey color, which will really help with the my colors transitioning. Because I don't like having a bunch of lines on my page, although sometimes it does happen. But if I can make it look as smooth and as natural of a transition as possible from my red to my yellow, and that means having a little bit of orange, then I am all for it. Doing nice long strokes with my paintbrush, dipping into that water and back into those watercolors occasionally. This yellow is so pretty. I love this nice golden yellow color. Dipping into my water. Getting some more paint on my brush. And then right for my last space on this last corner, I want it to be blue. So I'm taking my brush and I'm going to go back over what I have on my page so far. That was the red and the yellow colors. Making nice long strokes with my brush. Awesome. And now, time for my last color, which is going to be blue. I'm going to dip into my blue. And I'm going to start in the yellow a little bit. And it's going to create a green color, because yellow and blue make green. And it's going to transition into a nice blue. So dipping back into my water, swirling my brush, and grabbing some more of that blue with my brush. And this is going to be the last color on my page. Okay, and then taking my brush, swirling it around, rinsing it off a little bit, and I'm going to grab some water off of this cup once I'm done swirling. I'm going to go back and kind of correct some of the spaces where I have a lot of lines. I'm going to try to blend it out. Okay, so this definitely turned out to be a little bit more rainbowy looking than I had thought it would, but it does look really good. So this is what we have, and it looks so pretty. So it's going to take just a second to dry. And while it's drying, well, we can go ahead and kind of clean up our area a little bit. So we're going to close up our paint palette because we are now done with our paint palette. So I'm going to close that up, set it to the side. My watercolor cup and my paintbrush I'm now done with as well. So I'm going to set that to the side. This is going to take just a minute to dry. And I'm going to pull out a wipe right quick and wipe my area down for our next little our little transition activity while that's taking a second to dry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out a sheet of paper and a pencil. And what we're going to do is we're going to try to come up with as many words that we can think of in about 1 minute that start with the letter D and start with the letter A, okay? So I'm going to lower the camera and I am going to split my page in half. And I'm going to write D at the top of this page, or this half, and I'm going to write A at the top of this half. Draw a line under each, and we're going to try to come up with as many words that start with the letter D and the letter A. And we're going to take about 1 minute to do it, okay? So, on your mark, get set, go. So D. What's a word that starts with D? Dapper. Very clean cut, very handsome, very stylish. Dapper. Dedicated. My dad is definitely very dedicated. Dedicated to his family, dedicated to his work. He's a very hardworking person. So if my dad is very hardworking, he never gives up until he gets done whatever it is that he knows he wants to get done and he needs to get done. So my dad is very driven. Driven starts with the letter D. Daring. Oh no, we're coming up on 1 minute. We'll take 1 more minute after this and keep going. And if you're watching and you can think of any words that start with the letter D or the letter A that describe your dad, you can comment those below. I'm going ahead and I'm thinking of words that describe my dad. My dad loves riding his motorcycle. He's a big Harley Davidson fan, so he's definitely very daring because I'm not one to drive a motorcycle. I'm not that daring. He's very devoted. He's devoted to his family first. He's very devoted to anything that he touches. He's gonna, put his whole heart into it. So he's very devoted to his work, very devoted to his family, very devoted. He's very determined. When my dad puts his mind to something, he doesn't rest until he gets it done. And it can't be done just any kind of way. My dad has to make sure it's done just right. He's very dynamic. There's nothing boring about my dad. I can promise you that. He's a very dynamic person. He has a lot of personality. He has the biggest heart you've ever met. Or the biggest heart you've ever known. My dad is a very dynamic person. There's so many things I could say to describe my dad. So he's very dynamic and dazzling. My dad is definitely very dazzling. He's just so awesome. Oh, awesome. That's a word that starts with the letter A. He's awesome. My dad is amazing. My dad is very accomplished. My dad, he works very, very, very hard, and he accomplishes a lot. He's very adaptable too. You can put my dad in any situation, no matter what, and my dad's he's gonna work it out. He's gonna make it to where he can work in that situation no matter what the circumstances are. He's very adaptable. My dad's very real. He's very authentic too. And he's really admirable. I really look up to my dad, and I have a lot to admire about him. He has great work ethic. He's able to. Oh, I almost spelled admirable wrong. Admirable. Mirable. He's very admirable. I really look up to him because he's just such a great person. So, I'm not sure if you can see my list, but these are the words that I came up with to describe my dad. It helps if you come up with the list on your own before we move on to the next part of our activity. So if you're watching this video and it's not live, I do recommend pausing, writing out a bunch of words that start with the letter D and a bunch of words that start with the letter A that describe your dad before you continue with this activity. So now that I have that done, that took about 4 or 5 minutes instead of 1. That's okay. But the good news about that is our picture should be about dry now that we took the time to create that list. I'm touching it just to make sure it's dry. It is pretty much dry, but because I pushed down too hard, I got a couple of fingerprints in there. So I'm going to take my brush and kind of blend those little fingerprints out. And I just won't touch those parts of my page. Okay, so we have our list. So what we're going to do now is have your list handy and also grab your colored pencils and have those colored pencils handy as well. You can have your list, your colored pencils, your pencil. If you pause the video to make your list, you can just go ahead and put that to the side because you won't need that anymore. We're done with that. We're done with everything else that we've used up until this point. We just need colored pencils, our list, and a trash can because we're about to peel off our tape and throw it in the trash. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and rip my tape off. Whoops. Throwing that in the trash as I rip it off. Uh-oh, I ripped up my page a little bit. That's okay, we'll just decorate on top of it, make it pretty. Okay, and we're going to rip off this now. Ripping off the tape on our last letter. Awesome. So, this is what it's looking like so far. We did a really good job. Some of my paint did run into my letters, but that's okay because I'm going to take my colored pencils and I'm going to decorate over those letters. So it'll cover up, you know, most of the, hopefully a lot of the paint that ended up getting onto my page or underneath my tape on my page. Oh, hi Mom. My mom's watching, you guys. She commented hi. If you're watching this on YouTube, you obviously can't see that comment, but it's here on Facebook Live. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my first colored pencil. I'm going to do the color red. And yellow. I'm still going to stick with my red, yellow, and blue. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out a red color pencil, a yellow color pencil, and a blue one. So if you're just now tuning in, we just did our tape resistant painting, and this is how it ended up turning out. It did run in the letters a little bit, but that's okay because we're going to take our colored pencils and decorate. And while I'm thinking about it, you can also go ahead and pull out a black colored pencil because we will be using a black colored pencil at the very end. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my black out. You can go ahead and pull your black color pencil out and have that handy and sitting to the side. And if you're also just tuning in, while we let our painting dry for a little bit, what we did was we came up with a list of words that describe our dad. And I have my list right here. And so we're going to use those words to help with our Mosaic Acrostic. So I'm going to go ahead and lower my camera again, and we're going to get decorating, okay? Okay, so I'm going to start with my red, and I'm going to do diagonal lines. So I'm just going to draw diagonal lines all the way down my letter D. If you want to do a different pattern, that is perfectly okay. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You might hear my dogs barking in the background. They're jealous and upset that they can't be in here while I'm doing my arts and crafts, but that's okay. They get to come and help me with story time. They can't really help me as much during my arts and crafts time. And now that I have my diagonal lines all drawn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my colored pencil and I'm going to color in every other diagonal space. So I'm coloring in this first one, kind of like a candy cane. So we're going to color in the first one. We're going to leave the next one white. Going to color in the next one. And whenever I color in my diagonal spaces, I color it in, I kind of drew a line going across the whole D. So even though there might be a space in between one set of lines, how we have this one right here it is essentially one line, quote unquote, one line. And that's how I'm coloring it in. So I'm coloring in this set. I'm leaving the next one white. And then I'm going to color in the next one. And I'm going to leave the next one white. And we're going to do this until we have the whole letter D all colored. Okay? So let's keep coloring, and then I'll check back in with you guys once we're all done coloring this one in. Almost finished. Take me away. Make sure if you're watching, you're liking and sharing this video just so that everyone can get a chance to view it and see how to make a cool Father's Day present for their dad. Okay, so we have our D all colored in. And so now we're going to do the A. The way that I'm going to do my A is going to be number 1 with the color yellow, and I'm going to do dots all over my color my letter A with the color yellow, okay? So I'm just going to draw circles all over my A. So we're just coloring these circles all over. We're almost done. Awesome. So now for our last one, I'm going to take my blue and I'm going to do squiggly lines going across my letter D, my last letter. And I'm going to color it in. And I'm just drawing a wavy line, two wavy lines, and I'm coloring in those wavy lines. And this is going to be our last line right here. And we're just going to color that last one in. Coloring in this last little area because we are almost done. Awesome. Okay, so now for the last part of our activity, this is what we're going to do. We are going to grab that black color pencil that I was telling you about. Go ahead and grab your black color pencil and grab your list, okay? And what we're going to do is all over our letter D, we're going to write words that start with the letter D, of course. So on that D side of your list, you're just going to pick a few words and just write them all over your first letter, okay? So I'm going to write dedicated because that is a long word and I can fill up more space going all the way down. So make sure you really darken in that black whenever you are writing with it. Really bear down. So I'm writing determined. Awesome. And what's another one? Driven. I'm going to write driven. And I'm going to write that going across over here. So driven. And on the bottom part, I'm going to write, dapper. And going down, I'm going to write dairy over here. A-R-I-N-G. So for the A, you can look on the A side of your list and pick 4 words off of that list, and we're going to write those on our letter A. So I'm going to write going down, I'm going to write accomplished. A, C, C, O, M, P, L, I, S, H, E, D. Awesome. And let's see, over here, I'm going to write authentic, A-U-T-H-E-N-T-I-C. And on the bottom, I'm going to write amazing because my dad is amazing. A-M-A-Z-I-N-G. And going down, I'm going to write admirable. So, because I really admire my dad. So Admirable. And whenever I write these, as you can see, I'm really trying to take up as much space as possible. I'm really making those words big. I'm really stretching them out to take up as much space as possible. So now for our last word, I'm going to write determined. So Determined. Determined. Across, I'm going to write dynamic. D-Y-N-A-M-I-C. On the bottom, I'm going to write dazzling. D-A-Z-Z-L-I-N-G. And going down, I'm going to write devoted. D-E-V-O-T-E-D. Okay, so to wrap us up, we're going to write you are. Well, first we're going to write Happy Father's Day. So right here in this big space, right in the top, on the top right side of our page, I'm going to write Happy Father's Day. And then at the top, I'm going to write you, and this is going to go right above the letter D. I'm going to write you are dot dot dot. And then down here in this big space on the bottom left hand side of our page, I'm going to write I love you. And then I'm going to draw a heart. Okay. So this is what our final product looks like. Oops, here we go. It says you are, and then it says you are dad, you are driven, daring, dapper, determined, admirable, authentic, accomplished, amazing, determined, dynamic, devoted, dazzling. And it says I love you. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed making this with me. You guys did a great job, I'm sure. Make sure you take pictures and send it to us. Because I would love to see how y'all's turn out. I want to thank you so much for joining me today to make this beautiful Father's Day Mosaic Acrostic, and I look forward to seeing you next time. In the meantime, make sure you keep checking back on the Get Your Play Online page for all the fun activities that we have for you guys every day here. Until next time, I'll see you then. Have a great Sunday. Bye, you guys.